Hey everybody! Welcome to PsychFacts. Listen, caring, sharing. Today, our topic is about 8 complex minds of introverts. The creation of differences in introverts makes it very difficult to understand, so we cannot blame anyone for this. To be sure, the different experiences possessed by introverts make them different in thought and action. Introverts are indeed far from the crowd and more often choose silence in various situations. That's because they live in their thoughts and even they have their own world, with their own struggle and level of problems. This makes them able to have very complicated thoughts about something and usually know a lot of things in depth. 8 complex minds of introverts. 1. Facing others. This is a very hard thing for introverts to do. This actually varies in degree depending on the person. To be sure, the nature of introverts makes those who are introverts find it very difficult to deal with others. Guess what an introvert does when faced with such a situation? They will wander in their brains, in their fantasies about what they will face and what they must do. They will think about it deeply, and even too deeply, which makes them ultimately afraid of the situation they will face. For example, like this. If an introvert walks alone on a road and suddenly meets someone he knows and talks to, what would he do? Will he invite the person to remain silent for a long time, or will he talk to him? What actually happened was that he would think very quickly in that situation. Approximately, he would think like this. Why do I have to meet with him? Even though I have to go home soon. There are books and films that I want to watch. Oh, how about this? Should I ask how he is doing? Should I talk about my desires and how good the anime that I watched recently? I have to take him to my house or buy him a meal at the nearest place. Or I have to ask about his hobbies or his girlfriend or maybe his schoolwork. If the example isn't true, please correct. I wrote it because that's how I felt when I met someone else. What happens in the end is that he seems to be a strange person, talking about something other people do not understand, and going home feeling tired himself due to what has happened. That's what makes them get tired quickly in crowded situations, because their emotions and brains work harder than when they are alone. 2. Being alone. Then when being alone, what introverts do? The complexity that occurs in the introvert's mind not only occurs when they face other people, but also when they are alone. Because when they are alone, they tend to get stuck with their thoughts and activities. Try to think about this. Is it possible for someone to spend 24 hours a week just playing games? Can someone be stuck in solitude every day without doing anything? So what does an introvert do when he is alone? I want to emphasize 2 things here: that introverts usually have very high dreams in themselves to achieve something, and people who are stuck in the game are not necessarily introverts, because even extroverts can get caught and choose themselves in some situations. The complexity of introverted thinking when they themselves are created by filling the free time they have to achieve something they want. It because a very long process takes place which confronts them with a variety of situations and problems. It might sound common to many people, but in fact introverts always choose to face and solve problems themselves. It can be said that they are intelligent in their fields and also in various aspects. One more thing, the process of development and problem solving takes place in a continuous time and occurs in almost all life processes of the introvert. 3. Making decisions. In general, people decide based on their analysis and feelings. Some people take action based on their thoughts, some others do it because they are happy with the choice. However, in the process of reaching such a conclusion, there are many things that have happened and taken place. In essence, humans really cannot read the future. What humans can do is predict the accuracy in their choices based on experience that has already taken place. Even so, most people actually determine something based only on their feelings and feelings of pleasure. Is introvert like that? If you are an introvert, you will realize that when you are faced with a situation that makes you have to choose, you will be trapped in your own mind and make decisions for a long time. You sort through things in your brain and begin to form a rather complicated relationship from the consequences that will arise after you make a choice. This indeed happens because introverts live more in their own brains. 4. Facing problems. Everyone does have a different way of life, as well as approaches and methods of solving the problem. Even introverts have their own problems, but introverts are more likely to bury them in their brains, and explore all the ideas that exist to solve these problems. In solving problems, an introvert always tries to find a solution by using their personal approach, and his approach is always not by complaining to others, but by gathering all kinds of information deemed necessary, then trying to connect all the theories he gets to help solve the problem. In their brains will be seen a picture of thought as below. So, introverts always try to get as much information as possible and then try to connect all the information between one and the other, so that finally an approach is made based on the results of these thoughts. Then you should not be surprised if you find an introvert that can connect something that is even very contrary though. 5. How to read the atmosphere. This is a complexity and a special thing possessed by an introvert, namely reading the situation and people around. Maybe some people when trapped in a crowd will be blind to the situation around him and focus on the person he is talking to, but not so with an introvert. Introverts will usually stand near a wall in a crowd and begin to look around. He then usually makes a small deduction in his brain about the reasons for life, theories, possibilities, and thought processes that take place around him. They will read the behavior of people and give a little conclusion about what is happening and what is the reason behind it. They will analyze people in depth, and generally introverts are indeed very deep. They will look at everything they see to the best possibilities that a person must do than what he does at that moment. This is for some introverts a hobby, a fun hobby to fill up leisure time, and some do it to increase their confidence in a tiring crowd situation, without an accompanying friend. 6. Seeing things in detail. As I mentioned above, that introverts like to think excessively in dealing with trivial problems, and that makes them sensitive. Not sensitive to women's feelings, but to the situation at hand, to what is happening around him. Don't feel weird if an introvert in the middle of a conversation with you then suddenly pays attention to something as trivial as ants, balls, grass, clouds, leaves, wood, threads, and even a trash bin, then ends up stuck in his mind like thinking about something very serious. Introverts are people who are always curious about something and are often trapped in their minds to form conclusions and reasons that underlie something happening, such as why there can be an ant beside him and not with his group. Of course there are many things that underlie it, but that is exactly what introverts like. Sometimes we also feel strange when dealing with introverts who view something that is far from our thinking, and too small for us to think. Yes, it can't be helped, that's the introvert, with all his thoughts, and all the intricacies of his mind. 7. A flexible mind. Because introverts are always in examining everything, both information received from other people or the media around, making an introvert can be so flexible in making a mindset. You could say that introverts can see everything in thousands of points of view, so that what people usually call wrong, can be justified and blamed by the introvert simultaneously. That makes introverts quite wise in making decisions. Because the introvert sees with a variety of perspectives, so he can deduce the best possible from thousands of decisions that can be taken. So it can be ascertained that the decision taken by an introvert is usually the best decision in the circumstances. This flexibility also usually allows the introvert to accept every opinion given by others so that he can mediate in the middle of a dispute or debate by friends or other people. Here is an example of the flexibility of his thought based on a situation. Let's just say there was a severe accident between a taxi driver and a vegetable handyman that occurred due to the taxi driver who paid attention to the sexy woman while driving and the vegetable trader who pushed his merchandise too far down the road. This must have happened in real life, an accident because of a sexy girl. So who is wrong here? Maybe some people think that taxi drivers are wrong and should be punished, but for the introvert there is nothing wrong and right, and also everything is wrong and everything is right. The introvert will see this problem from all points of view there. He will try to think of being the taxi driver who is certainly blaming the sexy woman who doesn't know how to dress and the vegetable seller who pushes the cart too centered on the street. The introvert will also enter into the thinking of the sexy woman who says that what the taxi driver is wrong who cannot keep his eyes or eyes of the basket. As for the vegetable trader, the possibility of being blamed is definitely the taxi driver, although it does not cover the possibility of the sexy woman being hit. WHO is wrong, according to you. 8. Introverts in relationships. Introverts are not always alone even though they like solitude. They must have some friends and activities related to others. Relationships that take place that also does not rule out the possibility for the introvert to place feelings towards the opposite sex over time. So the introvert can fall in love. So like this. An introvert must fight for his love for someone or his relationship with friends. But because the introvert's tendency to think makes them lazy to think too much about love and feelings. They like something complicated that has to do with thoughts and hobbies, but in emotions and feelings, they choose not to care too much. You could say the introvert didn't have time to play feeling. It is the result of this thought that makes an introvert so loyal to those around him. When it comes to seducing people, they usually use intellectuals because they like ideas and rhetoric in relating and interacting. So we can be sure that most of the introvert's social environment is filled with intelligent people. They will quickly get bored if their friends cannot follow their thoughts or cannot provide valuable thoughts. Are you an introvert? What more do you like to add? Let us know in the comment section below. Do you have any topics in mind? We will be glad to make them for you. Make sure you like, subscribe to get more videos like this. Thanks for watching. Take care.